I'm Felina.
And I'm Summer.
And you are listening to Broken Broken.
Because we're both.
The podcast about living your best life by getting real.
Hey, broken people. This is Summer.
And this is Felina. I just want to apologize ahead of time. I'm eating a bunless onion burger I just got off work.
We've been at work all day and then we record these afterwards.
And we have no time. And so it gets really real around here.
Yes.
So right now, Summer's watching me eat this really juicy bunless burger because I don't eat bread, and it's all over the place, and you're going to hear me smacking.
So when you hear the lettuce crunch, you'll know what's
I'm
happening.
apologizing ahead of time, but I'm starving.
So can you tell us, for the listeners, kind of some of your background, your story, on who you are?
Oh, well, that's a big question, Summer.
Start with your name.
Okay, my name is Kendra. Kendra Hollingsworth. I spend my day as a disability rights advocate. I work for a law firm and I help protect children with disabilities. And at night, I come home to three wonderful children. Two of them are dancers, and so I'm a dance mom, and I'm running around getting everybody to all the dance classes and intensives and competitions and performances.
Oh, I know that life. That was me as a child. I was in competitive dancing when I was a kid, yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's a lot.
It is. It's a lot. And as of a couple of years ago, I became a single mom, and, so it's been quite the journey. Yeah.
Oh, we hear you from these two single moms to you, yeah.
Yeah, life changes a lot when that happens, right?
Yes, it does, yeah.
So how did you end up in disability rights?
That's a story. I was working for CPS, and I hated it.
As does everyone who works for CPS.
Right. I don't know anyone who works for CPS and is like, yeah, I love it here.
Child Protective Services.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was working for CPS. I hated it. I was asked to lie in court one day by my supervisor, and I refused. So I quit, and it felt really good, of course. And then out of the blue, and I posted my resume online just as part of being unemployed, and I thought no one would ever see it. And out of the blue, I get this call from a law firm asking me to come in and talk to me. So I called them up, and I interrogated the man who would be my supervisor for about 45 minutes before he said to me, wow, I feel like I'm under interrogation. You're doing a fantastic job of it. And so I apologize. And then came in to speak to them, brought them some briefs that I had written for court, and they were just impressed. I was the only person they interviewed. They hired me, and I've been there ever since. So
how long ago was that?
Oh gosh, I have to do math. 14 years.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Oh, I didn't realize you'd been there that long.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Still a mess over here.
Eating is good.
Yeah. Food is necessary.
Well, I mean, when we are all, I'm sure you totally get it, like when you're trying to do 18 things at once, you got to sneak in your meals where you can, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So I'm glad I get to share my meal with the both of you tonight. It's a lovely dinner conversation.
It's always nice to have a meal with friends, right?
Yeah, but it's nice to be around women who get it. You know what I mean? I think we all share similar struggles, and this show is all about sharing our struggles and things that we're supposed to be ashamed of, but instead normalizing them, because we deal with complicated shit in life. Everybody does.
Right,
and,
it's real.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the things that you struggle with?
Gosh, a lot. It was one thing to be married to the world's largest jackass, I think. But you know, for him to leave and then leave me with all the bills and leave, you know, behind. And sometimes people are like, well, why don't you just, people say to me, well, you live in this town that's, you know, it's rather affluent, and, well, why don't you just up and move to, you know, somewhere else, or why are you even living someplace like this? Well, I didn't get here by myself, you know. I built a life with somebody else who no longer is participating in that life, and now I'm left trying to get kids to graduate and make sure, you know, and not disrupt the lives of other people who didn't ask for someone to just walk out the door. And so, like, for me, I just like sometimes it just feels like everything is a struggle. Everything from getting
I feel that.
dinner on the table. Yeah. To being where you need to be every night and getting everyone where they need to go and you know, paying bills and it's just everything. Yeah.
Oh yeah, paying bills is that's a struggle, and people assume, you know, I'm sure you probably get this assumption, or I'm assuming you have a formal education. You know, Summer and I both have law degrees, and people like to make the assumption, oh, well, you're a lawyer, you must make a lot of money. Like, you're insane.
Right.
Yeah. That's not reality.
No, it's not. I went to law school. I have a Master of Jurisprudence in Indian law. I haven't finished. The idea was my husband would finish his doctorate, and then once he was done, I would get to finish my JD. That did not happen, obviously. But I know plenty of attorneys who are not wealthy. Like, I don't know, most of them.
Right. Most of the attorneys I know are not.
Right.
Yeah, and I know you haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, but the last episode we had, I was talking about the financial struggles, because earlier this year my car got repoed, which was a whole lot of fun, and it's something we don't talk about. Because for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just this country or what, we've been taught you don't talk about money, and you hide these things. And I know that's how we ended up having a conversation about you being on the show, was because of that Facebook post you made. So did you want to, could you kind of,
what was the post?
Talk about what you posted? And
well, you know, I had a friend, I've been taking this class on like basic bookkeeping, basically. And I had this friend, after class, she was telling me how ashamed she was of the fact that her family was poor, and she has 5 children, and they're just, you know, her and her husband are doing everything they can to make ends meet, but it's not happening, and you know, changes in job and changes in economy and all that stuff that is so real. And she disclosed to me that she also went to, our church has a food pantry, and it's a very distinctive food pantry. It says the church's name on some of the products. So you know, if you've ever been there and you go to someone's house and they have something from there, you would know.
Right, you know that label, right?
Right. You definitely have the label, and I don't mean Prada. And she was just telling me how ashamed she was that she had to go to the pantry, and I just felt like no one should have to be ashamed of that. And so I posted a picture of my Jesus Christ meat on Facebook, so everybody could see that I have a Jesus Christ meat, and it's okay, and you're not alone. And so many people get on social media and they're showing you their new bikini in Tahiti, and that's just not reality, I think, for most people. And you know, I'm so happy that people can go to Tahiti and wear a hot bikini. I mean, whatever. You know, but that doesn't mean because you can't that you've done something wrong. And it doesn't mean, some people will equate wealth or being financially successful with, you know, oh, well, you must be doing the right thing, or you must be a good person. But that's not true, you know. And your finances don't dictate your morality. They don't dictate your ethics. They don't dictate how good of a person you are or how well you must be doing. So I just thought it was important that people understand that even me, I have Jesus Christ in my pantry, and it's fine. It's okay.
Right. And I really appreciated that, because right now I'm working as a social worker again. And because of the state of things, I'm seeing a lot of clients coming in for assistance for the first time, and a lot more educated people coming in for the first time, and a lot of them are struggling with that, because they've always had that conditioning of, poverty is a moral failing.
Yeah.
And that outlook, and trying to get out of that. And some of them honestly are waiting what I consider too long to ask for help. They're waiting until they're absolutely desperate because of that. And when things may have been, had they asked for help earlier, it may have been more manageable to get out of it. I don't know how we fix that problem in this country, but we need to. This idea that poverty or affluence is somehow connected to how hard you work or what type of moral person you are, and all of that.
Right.
I mean, it's one factor, but there's a whole lot of other factors.
Right. There's all sorts of things, and there's a lot of factors that are beyond your control that you just can't.
Yeah, that's a good. I'm seeing a wheel of my wheels are turning, and I'm seeing this wheel inside my mind of like a research project and the factors to consider. I mean, whether or not each factor is a choice or forced upon you as well. I mean, there's just so much to consider, and we're so. I think our society in general is just so prone to. I'm not quite sure what the right word is, but we have such a singular view on things. Like, it's just because of A, this is a result of B. You see that in our politics all the time.
Right.
Like, oh, well, gosh, I'm like really struggling with examples right now. But you know what I mean,
think that's
right?
True. There's I don't know if it's a reluctance or just to even not realizing to look beyond at the complexities of issues. Yeah. But I don't think we're taught in our
that
primary education to do those things anymore.
That requires critical thinking.
Right.
And it's just easy to just go, oh, well, you must be on food stamps because you're lazy and you don't work hard, and you must be uneducated, and you like, from that one singular act, so many assumptions can be made. And that's just a very myopic, there we go, view of anybody's, situation in their life. And I think that's why I get so pissed off in politics, because it's always people having these myopic, like, stances on things. I'm like, oh, well.
And they want to pretend everything's disconnected from other things.
Like, I'm literally in an argument with a woman who is marrying my stepdad on Facebook right now, who is like, well, I don't understand the need for National Women's Day. Isn't that every day a Human's Day? Why? I don't understand why we have all these special days. I'm like,
all lives matter during Women's Day.
Yeah, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, I get paid like 72 cents on the dollar of every man in my legal doing the same job in my legal profession. And I pointed that out, and she's like, she makes some comment about, oh, well, that also depends on the specialty that you choose. I'm like, bitch, this isn't even just about like, the wage gap is not about just money. It's about opportunity too.
Right. The opportunities are not always open equally.
Right.
Yeah, like, shut the fuck up. Jesus fucking Christ. It pissed me the fuck off, but then I saw that she had also posted a fucking GoFundMe for the goddamn wall. So I am just raging right now, and I don't know if she will ever listen to this podcast, because I'm going to have to love her, because she's marrying my stepdad, and
you don't
she's
have to love
family.
Her. You just have to not kill her.
I can't talk politics around her, or I might.
Well, the good news is we know lots of attorneys, so if you need a defense attorney, we can find one.
It's such a myopic view. Just like everything, just like this, like it just pisses me off. Sorry, I'm getting hot-headed.
Yeah, we need to do an episode in a minute about what experiences as women. Go ahead.
You would really think that like something like International Women's Day, where we're just trying to bring awareness to the accomplishments and obstacles that women face around the world, like that would be something that everybody would be on board with, right? Like,
yeah,
like that's a no-brainer. Like, there's not an argument there. Like, why are we even having this like argument or this discussion? Like,
it's so.
Like, why can't we celebrate women? You know?
Well, because you know she lives in her little bubble where it's never affected her. You know, like if something has never affected you,
right.
I don't.
But how has it not affected her? That's what I don't understand.
Because she's
how can you be that insulated from
she's
it?
grown up in a white, affluent neighborhood with a white, affluent family.
Okay.
She works for an affluent company that I'm sure somehow in her network of people helped get her the job. You know, it's like. And it's
That's
just
a
never
whole world I don't even know.
Yeah, it's just never affected her. And like these people lack fucking empathy.
Right. That's
like,
a big thing. The empathy gap is real.
The inability to place your privileged feet in someone else's shoes.
Right.
It just pisses me off. I'm again getting on a rant. I'm sorry.
Blood pressure's going up.
Yes. As I come home from working a 10-hour day for 2 days in a row, making less money than the partner across the hall from me who leaves at 4:30 every day.
Right.
You know? Don't tell me I don't work hard. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, money isn't about who worked hardest, right? I think
Exactly.
if it was about who worked hardest, the guy that's in the Texas heat who's building a light down the street, he's going to be making way more money than me, right? Because I didn't work hard at all. I sat in an air-conditioned office, and I used my keyboard. I mean, he's clearly working harder than me when he's been out in the Texas heat 12 hours. But it's not about how hard you work. It's not about how long you work, right?
Exactly.
It's about what someone chose to value you with and what they chose to pay you for whatever it is that you do.
Yeah, that's the myth of the
or how much
American
money
dream,
you worked
right?
out of other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know one of our previous guests, Alicia, I didn't think to ask her about this when she was on the show. She was talking about when she was living, which she's back in New Mexico again, but when she was living out by Santa Fe, she was so upset, and she's talked about this in public online posts, so I think she's okay with me mentioning it, about watching these ranchers who are like millionaires. They'll go to the res or to one of the pueblos or anywhere where these poor men live, and they'll load up a pickup full of them to go build fence on their ranch or whatever, pay them almost nothing, and make them like they have to stay there until the whole thing is done. They don't even provide them shelter. Wow. Like it was the middle of the winter and there's snow on the ground, and these men are sleeping on the ground with no tents.
What the actual fuck?
Yeah. I'm like, you've got millions of dollars and you can't even provide them shelter. You do not see these people as humans. And yeah, and I feel like it's a perfect demonstration of the
empathy gap
and the system itself, the capitalist system, that like we don't see these things and we don't realize that that's how the system is built.
And how do these men, I mean, in that situation that you just described, I mean, those are human beings. Mm-hmm. How can you stand there and watch them freeze, watch them hurt, watch them suffer, and I mean, when is it nature versus nurture, with this empathy? I mean, I've been in contact with a malignant narcissist who lacks empathy truly, but I can't believe that many people, lack empathy. Or have we just been trained to turn it off in exchange for our own status and money? I don't know.
There is actually a study that examines that out of Canada, and I can't remember which university did it, where they watched, and we talked about it in one of the early podcast episodes when Stephanie was with us. They found that white people are more likely to have less empathy for people that don't look like them. but people of color aren't necessarily. And I think it's because of the conditioning and when you have that sense of entitlement because you're not dealing with those things because you don't have to. You're not being affected by them. You don't develop that empathy. And empathy is developed usually at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't have those experiences at the young ages, and so they're less likely to see people who don't look like them as human in the same way that people that do. So they were responding in empathetic ways to people who looked like them, but not to people who didn't.
Interesting.
So
Interesting.
yeah, so it is a sociological issue.
Yeah. Ugh. Hate being in contact with people who lack empathy.
And the thing is, they don't even realize that they don't.
Yeah, but they're just arrogant fucks. Really can't stand them. Sorry.
Selena's a little salty about some things.
I am. I'm really sorry.
As we all are.
I am being a salty pussy tonight.
So what kind of response, when you brought this up online, what kind of response did you get? Did you get people who were in the same sort of situation, or?
I mean, and maybe it's part of, I don't deal well with people that I think are just kind of toxic, or I just don't collect people online. Like, I like to put people around me that I think are probably a good influence on me and that, care about me and my family. So
right.
what I really got was just a lot of support. I got a lot of people saying, that's me too.
Good.
And, I got a lot of people saying, I have that same roast beef in my freezer, and kind of outing themselves in a way. So, and then the other thing I wasn't expecting was people to kind of on the side call me and say, hey, do you need groceries? Do you need money? And that it was a very strange week. I got these 2 gift cards in the mail, which could not have come at a better time.
Right.
And I didn't have any gas money, and those gift cards helped me get gas. So, and I didn't need groceries at that moment, but I was very grateful for the friend who asked. But I think sometimes, like in this kind of modern day and age where we're all just so glued to our phones, I don't think we're paying attention to our neighbors in the community as much as we used to. And I think it's really important that people kind of like reach out to people and see if you can do an act of service for them. Do they need something? Everybody needs each other.
Right.
So, I just feel really oftentimes, and I feel it too, like disconnected from my community. Like, I don't know who my neighbors are. And if it wasn't for, like, honestly going to church, I don't know that I would know people in my neighborhood as well as I do. And people just, I think sometimes people just kind of feel alienated, and they don't reach out. But for me, it was a good trial to see how much people around me are paying attention and are trying to look at just outside of themselves and to help others. And it was really quite a precious experience, I think.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love it when, I hate that you're struggling, but I do love the demonstration of good, humanity.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me hope.
Yeah.
It calms down the saltiness that you
Right.
heard me express. I'm reminded there is some good. Yeah. But that's what we fight for, right? Like, that's why I get so salty.
And I think it helps people feel less alone. I know, like I said, that when that showed up, that was when I was right there in the middle of trying to figure out that whole car situation. I didn't have a car yet, and I was like, just fuck my life, like, And so it was a nice reminder, like, okay, I'm not the only one going through this. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Just keep going,
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
And you're not. Think of all the systems that we plug into where there really isn't that care or concern for you as an individual. Your car loan company doesn't care usually what happens to you, or if they show up and pick up your car, or they don't care about all the children that need that car, or why you're behind on your payments, or.
Right.
We're built as a very, like, non-caring social structure, like, we're
Yeah.
our system is very harsh.
It cares about the corporations, not
Yeah.
about the people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know when I think it was right after my mother died, I had a really hard time paying for my car, and
Mm-hmm.
they sent me a notice saying, you give us $800 and you've got like a week, or we're taking your car.
Right.
And I was able to pay that $800, but not without sacrifice, right? Not without saying, well, I guess I can't pay my electric bill. I guess I can't pay, whatever else is on my plate.
Right.
And I was fortunate enough that I confided in someone who then, was able to help me just get by. Not like get by and be bawling, but like,
Right.
get by. And then I was able to, when because when the parent dies and they have to, be cremated or they have to be buried, and then you have to deal with, their assets, and in our case, there was no assets. It was, they gave us 30 days to get all of her stuff out of an apartment. And where was that going to go? And, and who was dipping their hands in our pockets trying to get more money out of us, because she was gone. So, but sometimes I feel like, I have to remember that if I don't say anything, if I don't communicate to people where I'm at and what's going on, I'm probably not going to get any response, right?
Right.
So sometimes, like, asking for help, I think, is one of the hardest things to do. But it's something I'm getting better at, because if I don't ask, no help will probably come. People are not telepathic. They're not going to know.
Right.
I mean, I look clean. My clothes are clean. I'm going to work. People probably aren't going to assume anything's wrong, right?
Right.
And I don't have the luxury of, we talk about food stamps. I don't have the luxury of food stamps. I make too much money for food stamps. It doesn't mean that my family can't starve, because they absolutely can.
Oh, yeah, because those income guidelines are set way...
They're bullshit.
Way low. Yeah, because I don't qualify
Way
for
low.
food stamps either. But that doesn't mean that, half of my income
Right.
isn't going to rent, which is the lowest rent I could find. It doesn't mean that there's a huge chunk of people in there that are food insecure because they don't qualify for food stamps, but they're not at a livable wage.
Right.
Right.
The
Yeah.
working poor.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I've even kind of, at this point in my life, I've decided, as much as I love my job, I've been out job seeking to try to find something that makes maybe twice as much as what I make, which sounds ridiculous to me. Like if I went to go talk to myself like 10 years ago and I said, well, Kendra, you're going to be looking for a job that makes twice as much as you do now, I would have laughed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would I ever need that kind of money? Well, I need that kind of money to replace a husband that isn't there. And, and then I'm going to have to think about support that I give to my family, that if I'm not there to give because I'm working, because right now my job is flexible and they let me be home when my kids get home,
Right.
Which as a mother is something you can't replace. And, or I guess you can if you have enough money, right? You can hire somebody to be there for your kids. But the thought of having to leave something I love and something I feel passionate about just for money. So maybe my kids can go to college, or maybe I don't have to get food from the pantry every month. It's hard. It's heartbreaking, quite frankly.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when you're doing important work. I mean, there's so many, I can't even pick an issue, there's just so many wrong with this whole scenario. We've got somebody who's educated, who has worked hard, has obtained the education that's supposed to warrant the life, the American dream that we're sold. We raise our kids and tell them, make straight A's so you can go to college, and then that means you can make money so you can be financially free. And
that lie is what made us sign up for those student loans.
Yeah, that lie is, and those student loans that we can't take interest payments off on our credit, on our taxes anymore. Those student loans that I will never pay back.
Oh, never.
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 Unless I
Never.
hit the lottery, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, like it's just insane, this whole structure. And that's the thing that pisses me off about people in privileged situations that don't recognize it. And they're like, well, you just do this. And like a lot of them have done all the same things. They went to college. They made good grades. You know, we are right on par with one another with everything. But they come from some family who has some connection. Or they didn't have to take out student loans because somebody paid for their education. Right. Or, you know, whatever. Like there's just, people just are blind to their own leg up. I mean, I have a privilege. I mean, even though I struggle too, you know, like my mom passed away and left me a small life insurance policy. And it's a fucked up way to get a privilege, but it is a privilege. You know, I'd trade it for my mom's presence again anytime. But I mean, that's a privilege that I have to acknowledge. Even though, you know, I struggle as well, but people don't recognize their own privileges, even when they're small, how they really made a big difference in their lives and their opportunities where they end up.
Sure. I think of friends of mine who, when they got married, their parents bought their first house.
Right.
And,
yeah, me too.
You know, and their parents paid for their college education, so they're stepping off into, same as me, you know, you graduate. I got married when I graduated, and then they're stepping off into life. I stepped off with, you know, $60,000 in debt and a mortgage. You know, they're stepping off not in debt with no house payment. And they're going to, you know, of course, build on the house, add to it, use extra money, build their savings, and all of that did not happen for me.
Right.
Like, but it doesn't mean we didn't grow up in the same neighborhood. We didn't go to the same schools. We didn't have the same kind of what people think is, you know, even like privilege of just like, oh, well, you grew up in this neighborhood, or you went to that university, or, you know, they think, oh, well, you had it made, but, you know, no. Like, there's still ways that people are giving families a leg up, and you know, you don't really know it. And, you know, that's one of those things that I think to myself, how, you know, when it comes to, like, generational poverty, how do I get my own kids out of a cycle of generational poverty?
Oh, yeah.
How do I make sure that their college education is paid for? Or when they're buying their first house, they're going to have a leg up, and maybe mom can help with some of that. Like, I think about those things, and how can I make sure my kids are stepping into life without a ton of debt?
Oh, yeah.
Same.
Yep, me too. I've already decided if I don't have the money to pay for my kids' college, I'm just taking on her debt. Like,
I'd rather have the money for their college. There's too many. I have too many kids.
I would just rather bury myself in debt and give her the opportunity to start clean and fresh than the other way. I mean, I just am not gonna do it. My parents and my family didn't understand how they could have done the same for me, but they didn't understand. Or were selfish. I don't fucking know, but they didn't do it for me. And they could have. But I'm going to do that for her. I mean, I'm just going to take on all the debt myself. If I haven't figured out a way to build an empire before then.
Right. Of course.
Fortunately, my two that are old enough have qualified for that.
The grant?
The tuition. They call it a scholarship, but it's a tuition waiver because it's if you go to any of the public schools in the state. So I'm like, okay, guys, you got to go to school in Oklahoma. And I'm like, they hear about this a lot because, you know, it's got like, you have to take certain classes and you have to keep your GPA at a certain place. I'm like, I can't pay for your college. You better get this
I didn't
done.
know about this. When my daughter gets older, we're going to have to talk.
Yeah, it's okay, promise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Though
Cool.
the schools are obsessive about getting the information to you, so
good.
Yeah, definitely. So fortunately, my older two have qualified for that, and the younger one, because of the age she was when she was adopted out of foster care, the state will pay for her college.
Oh, nice.
So, but I have two that I've got to figure out. If they don't qualify for that, I don't know what we'll do.
Goodness.
I'm like, how about VOTEC, guys?
You know,
really, because I put my ex-husband through welding school. And then my youngest son's father, I helped him go through truck driving school, and they both make 3 times more than I do.
Oh yeah, no, Votex are where it's at, man.
So I'm trying to. I'm all about the concurrent enrollment. Start the VOTEC classes while you're in high school. College is great. You can still go to college, but then you can work while you're in college for more than minimum wage.
No.
Yeah.
I already know a
like
trade.
Certifications they can get during high school, like those are ways that they can, work as EMTs or something that makes a little bit more than Whataburger, right?
Right.
While they're in school. Yeah.
And if they can get if their vocational training can be somehow related to whatever they want to study, then that's also experience within the field. Because there's a lot of people graduating college who have no work experience, and so it's hard for them to find experience. But if they've already been working in the field, they're much more likely to be able to get a job once they graduate.
Right.
Plus, you discover if you hate it. You don't want to go through college and realize you hate it, like I did law school.
Right.
Well, and also, like, you set yourself up, like, if you have a trade, you can go into business for yourself, And I mean, it's a little bit more complicated to be an attorney and go into business for yourself. It's a lot easier to be a self-employed contract welder or truck driver or whatever. Those trade businesses really, there's a need for one. And it really lends itself to some lifestyle freedoms. I don't know if that makes sense, but you know what I mean.
All right, that's it. I'm going to welding school, guys.
I know. I'm like, I want to go to coding school. Like, I'm like, if I knew how to code and an attorney somehow, could that help me? I don't know.
I don't know. I know nothing about coding.
I'm weird.
Nothing.
I like computer language bullshit. I'm weird.
I look at it, I'm like, I don't know what this means. This is why coders will always have a job. I don't understand.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I think about, like, well, what if I could just change my field entirely and be like an electrician or something? Like, what would that take? Like, do I have to take on more debt? Do I have to, or sometimes, I don't know about you ladies, but you ever sometimes like wonder, like, why didn't I just be a florist? Like, I could have just been sitting there all day with flowers and not, like, dealing with, like, the horrors of the world, and not getting a phone call, my child was just sexually abused by their teacher, or, like, I mean, I could have a whole different, like, mind frame if I just, was a florist, right?
I think that at least once a week. Because I did work as a florist when my oldest was a baby, and I took him to work with me, and he would either, I would wear him or put him in a pack and play, and I would arrange flowers all day. And I do sometimes think, like, because we knew the people who owned the business, and they had set it up because they had a special needs son, and so she needed to be able to make money and still, and have him there and have flexibility. And so I think about that all the time. I'm like, you know what? They made good money with that flower shop. Maybe I should just go back to being a florist.
Yeah.
At least once a week I say this to myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, law school was stupid.
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
You could be arranging flowers instead of, like, making, some subpar wage.
Right?
to deal with the horrors of society, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's like therapy.
Oh, I could use some therapy right now.
Me too. I haven't been in a few weeks. Man. That's it. We're opening a flower shop, Felina.
Yeah, screw this law business.
Can you pour your own candles? We can make a business out of this.
Yes, I can also make ointments.
Same. I used to do that on the side all the time before I went to law school, and I shut down all those businesses.
Yeah,
I never should have done that.
Yeah, now I'm totally dependent upon my income from that job, and I don't have time to do all my side projects.
Right?
Some days I just want to quit and just see what happens.
If I didn't have so many children, I would.
Yeah, I'm like, if I didn't have any children,
terrified.
I would.
I'm terrified to do it, because I was talking to somebody about that over the weekend, because he's got his own business, And he was like, why don't you do this? Like, you know all of this stuff. You've got all these skills. I said, I'm scared to not have a guaranteed income.
Yep.
That's all it is.
And it's the gap. Like, give me 6 months of income to like,
Right.
then I'd take the leap.
Mm-hmm.
But I need 6 months of income.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we all have these great ideas. I'm sure you're a smart lady, Kendra. I'm sure you've got all sorts of ideas rolling around in your head on how you can get out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm a seamstress on the side because I have like 2 extra jobs, of course, to afford my beautiful lifestyle.
Same.
Yeah. Don't chuckle too hard. And so I'm a seamstress on the side, and one of the things I like to make is Indian regalia because I'm Indian, and I think to myself, oh, I could just, make some regalia, put it on Etsy, and like all my friends are like, Kendra, you make the most amazing stuff. You make dance costumes, you make regalia, like you just need an Etsy shop. And I'm like, I know, but like the second I quit my job and like the first month I don't make like thousands in sales, I'm screwed, and my kids are going to suffer.
Right.
And I just won't allow that to happen. I will never allow them to suffer.
Right. That's what scares me. I mean, I take commissions, and I do beadwork, and I make jewelry, and I do sew, and I'm just like, but sales aren't consistent. You can't count on that, and I can't just let my kids be hanging out there wondering.
Yeah.
What nation are you?
Muskogee.
Oh, okay. Well, I have I have an art website if you ever do make some stuff that you want to list in the store.
Okay, sure. I've got an Indian shawl right now that's it needs to be sold. I just haven't done it 'cause I'm so busy, but
Maybe we ought to start a collective Etsy page for anybody, because it's like a lot to.
The fees are
like it's
going up all the time.
Yeah. So wouldn't it be nice to share those, with among a community of people? I don't know.
Yeah.
Just a thought. Especially people who don't have time to do a full shop's worth of stuff.
That's how we started the art website. It's an art collective, and so that way. Yeah. I just don't tell the other artists I pay for the website every year. I just don't tell them that part. And I just list their stuff, and I just take a small commission when it sells. Well, and if it doesn't sell, I don't charge them anything.
Yeah. You're a good person.
Yeah. Yeah. That's nice of you. Yeah.
Well, I just feel like, I know Summer and I are and all my female friends, especially my single mom friends, we're always just brainstorming ideas, and I see so much power in the collectiveness of us all. When we can come together with an idea where we each are, busy, but each contributing in what ways we can to, create something. And I just feel like there's got to be a way. I don't know.
There's got to be a way to make things better for everybody, right?
Yeah.
I keep telling myself this.
I think that's true. I mean, even if it's not, just money, even if it's, I need someone to come sit with me because I just had chemotherapy and I feel sick, I think there's so much power in our communities and us coming together as people, and I feel like the momentum is that we need to be all separate, we need to be individual, we need to be away from each other, but I don't think that's the answer. I think the answer is for us to be together.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Community's important.
Yeah, and I personally, I don't feel like when I was growing up, I went to the Lutheran church, and I'm not really Christian or go to any church or anything. I'm spiritual and I believe in a higher power, but I don't have a hard time going to a church, which was always the only sort of community that I had, and I really missed that aspect of it. And then you go through life, and in college you might find a little bit of a community or belonging or whatever, but I've ultimately kind of had to learn how to create a community around me. Yeah. That's like-minded, and I tend to, not necessarily pride myself, but I really love, I woke up one day and realized I had this huge network of people that I knew. And like one of my favorite things to do is to like bring people together that are within my network, because I tend to not, I mean, there's been a few that have snuck in and they've been promptly kicked out. But I tend to only collect pretty damn good people, you know? Like you were saying earlier, you don't allow toxic people to stay around for very long, and neither do I.
Well, you can't. If you have healthy boundaries, you're not going to.
I didn't know what those were, though, for
I
a long
didn't
time.
either. I'm still working on it. Sometimes I'm not so good. I realized that earlier today. I was like giving in too much to one of mine that won't go away. And I'm like, I have to remember, I can't ever say yes to him about anything, because even though the first request seems reasonable, anytime you say yes, he's going to try to take a mile out of this. That's what happened. I'm like, I've got to remember, I'm not dealing with a regular person. He's clinically, he's a narcissistic sociopath. And so he will always take that, and he doesn't even realize what he's doing consciously. He's just doing what he does.
Yeah.
And I have
those
to
people
remember
are
to keep those boundaries.
gone.
Well, I can't, because I share a child with him, so I can't get rid of him. So that's what it was about. That's the only thing I talked to him about, is our kid. But
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
I hear you. My first husband was, we did not part on good terms, because my first husband, he was mentally ill, and he didn't want to take his medication because he felt that it, kind of ruined him or made him not authentically him. And okay,
right.
And because of that, he really could not control some of his moods and some of the things that he did when he had those moods. And I came to a point to where I was like, I kind of have to, me as an individual, I can deal with his moods and I can predict a lot of it, and like I know when to duck and dodge. But the kids could not, and I just knew I wasn't doing my job as their custodian on this planet if I stayed with them in this environment. And so, I left. And then, of course, married husband, I'm assuming is not worth much. But
so you pick men as well as I do, I see.
Yeah. But that's still her father, and that's someone that I will always have to, on some level, deal with. For them, and he's not a bad person by any means. He has difficulties, and he's learned over the years that he has to get help and take care of his own needs. The same way we all learn about our different struggles that we have. But it's hard when you love somebody and like you see that struggle and you're like, oh, but you just need this, and then you can't get them to come drink the water they need. Like you just
you want to help them, but you can't do that for them.
Well, and I think about where that I don't know if it's necessarily just a nurturing nature of women, or if that's because not all women are like that. But I know that, like Summer, you and I mean, you've talked about collecting broken people, and it's
like a really bad hobby.
Well, and I used to do it too, and somewhere along the way, in the last 6 months to a year, I've recognized that I don't have to do that anymore. And with each experience, with each man, and specifically my romantic relationships with men, where I would just bend over backwards to be caring and nurturing and figure out what their problem was, and try to help them fix it, and be there and be supportive. And now I'm just like, fuck that.
Right.
That's
what I've done for the past year, is not.
Yeah, I'm
not gonna do that, and trying to watch myself. And then one of them showed back up after all that time the other day, and I told him no, I'm not coming over there.
No,
I'm not.
No,
I'm not getting sucked back into this loop. We're not doing this.
Yeah, I don't have the energy. No, but I wonder about that behavior on my part. And Kendra, can you relate to that behavior?
Oh, Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
Not all women do that. And like, does that come from a common trauma in our childhood, or like what society was going through at the time of our childhood? Or, I mean, I know my mother was, I think we probably have a lot of our moms are all from the same generation where they were more subservient and needed a man. And
Oh, my mother was a child bride, so
yeah.
absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, even this notion that you have, or at least maybe it's a notion I have, that like when you love somebody, you like, and I always think the problem with me is that just because I love somebody and give everything I have does not mean it's going to be reciprocated, right?
Right.
So, with my last husband, thinking like, oh, well, he's this Indian politician and he's like all these things. He's so accomplished. He's going to have his PhD. And surely he has the brain power to reciprocate all the love and attention that I'm going to give him. And certainly he's, he knows not to be abusive in any way. And certainly he knows,
Right.
How to treat me well because, he's just such a brilliant fella. Well, that's not the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I put on my blinders to his bad behavior just to get through. And I think there's like that part of me that's like, which I think is natural to any person when you're in a situation that isn't, nurturing you back. You're trying to figure out how to get through that day, right? And you're hoping the next day is going to be better. and you think to yourself, if I just keep loving, then eventually it'll kick in with the other person and they'll be like, she loves me. She's going to love me back. I can't, mess this up. It's time for me to reciprocate that. But that doesn't happen.
That's the fairy tale that we're taught, right? That
Right.
she loved him and
Yeah.
he changed, and if you really love them, you stay with them, and so it
Right.
becomes this. Well, you're not doing something right if they're still acting that way.
Yeah, it's the guilt.
Right.
It's the guilt.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad controlled me with guilt. That was his way. If I didn't if I did something that was best for me but hurt his feelings, he would use, well, I guess he had the victim mentality. It was always about him all the time. And so that behavior of like a man blaming me for everything was definitely the example that I was put through with my father. And so that became acceptable. But my dad loved me.
Right.
And so that's the example of love that I received.
Yeah.
So, especially male love.
Uh-huh.
And so, it's literally, like, I mean, I was in my hometown at the end of January, just this year, just a couple months ago, and I came to this realization. Like, it's taken that long.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
To go,
can.
oh.
Right. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been ever since then that I have lost all interest in men.
Like, casting from men.
I'm like, ooh, yeah, no, I don't have any interest in men.
Yeah, I hear you. Like the past couple of years, people are like, Kendra, you gonna date? You're gonna get out there? You're a young, attractive woman. Like, you're smart. You've got plenty to offer. And I'm like, I kind of feel like I just want to offer it to me. Like, I just don't want to. Like, I'm just not in the mood. And it's not that like men don't try to come on to me, or that men don't try to take me out. I'm just not interested.
Yeah. No, that's, yeah. I had to tell someone recently that I was not dating right now, and was annoyed by the whole situation, but it wasn't, ultimately he's a nice dude, and I just don't want anyone right now. No thanks.
I've been very anti-relationship for the past couple years. Like, completely. We can go, we can hang out, we can have fun. That's as far as this is gonna go. Like,
I am.
I don't know if I'll ever do monogamy again, to be honest.
I even. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm deleting Tinder off my phone as we speak.
Mine has been deactivated for so long.
I'm deleting the motherfucker.
That's probably a good idea. Delete that Tinder. I have a when I date men, I tell them off bat, like, sex is off the table, and it's not going to happen unless we're getting married. And I find that filters out so many men. So many men will just be like, done. I'm out. Like, they're not doing it.
Well, I can see that, because I would be the same way if a man told me that. I mean, I'm much the opposite. Like, sex is probably all you're gonna get out of this. Like, I'm not sparing a whole evening to have dinner with you. Like I can give you an hour on this night, and that's all you get, and you go, and then and it won't be at my house, because I don't want to tell you where I live, and I am leaving immediately after. You will not meet my children. You will.
Summer knows what she wants.
You're lucky if you get my last name.
That's why I love her. She knows exactly what she wants.
I have no shame.
See, we just stigmatized that shit already. This is becoming one of my favorite episodes right now.
My parents are gonna die if they ever hear this.
This is becoming one of my favorite episodes. I'm just saying.
That's funny.
This is a good one. I like it, ladies.
Well, we've covered a lot. We've covered, let's see, our finances, and now we're down to our love lives.
That's
which,
right. It's like any good girls' night, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
This is a girl's night I didn't realize I needed.
I love it.
Came in hot and salty with my burger dripping down my hands.
And now she's deleted Tinder.
And now I've deleted Tinder.
Deleting Tinder. Yep.
Oh, goodness.
So what kind of
I
reaction
find,
do you get from men when you tell them no sex? Like, do they actually say they're not willing to do that, or do they just ghost and disappear?
I get a lot of different responses.
Okay.
I mean, part of it is like, my faith perspective, and I feel that if I'm going to enter a relationship that's going to involve all of that, because to me, sex and children and that kind of level of commitment is something I equate with marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's a whole, there's guys that I date where we don't have that level, right? And we know it's not going to that level. We know that we're just going to go out for a burger and we're going to laugh, and that's it. We're just having good company.
Right.
But for me, if a man wants to engage me on that kind of level, on a reproductive level, then to me that's the talk of marriage. And so they just have to understand that that's a whole different place that you're heading up front. Don't think that this is going to be a wham bam thank you ma'am, and you're going to be losing my number tomorrow. If you want to engage me on that level, we're going to be talking about vows. So some men, most men, I have had men just be like, I'm done, I'm out, I'm not interested in you, which is fine, because guess what, I'm not interested in you either.
Right, because you're not on the same wavelength. You don't match.
Yeah, that's okay.
Right.
It's okay to not be in the same place.
Yeah. So do you ever have the weird guys who are who keep talking to you because they see that as a challenge and they want to change it?
Right.
That's where I'm going with this.
Yeah, of course. Those guys exist.
What is wrong with them?
Oh my God. They're such simple creatures.
Sometimes I think I'm too clever to date sometimes. Because I'll be asking questions and
right.
And and you'll get these answers and you're just you answered wrong. And
sorry,
you've
been eliminated.
Funny.
I feel like we need a dating show on this.
I know. I'm realizing right now that I think part of the reason I don't want to date also is because I have a bunch of male friends. And that just fills that role that you're talking about, Kendra, of just having good company and
I'm
good
that's
with
why
that.
I don't feel the need to actually quote date, because I get all of that from all of my friends.
Yeah.
So the only thing that's left is reliable sex.
Yeah. And that keeps it simple.
Yeah. But I think that's good, because when you get those, I feel like that's healthier to be getting those needs met by more than one person.
Well, then it keeps you from being dependent on one thing, and
so you're not as likely to make those decisions with your emotions that are not healthy and ignoring the red flags.
Yeah. I've gotten where I'm a little bit of a mix of both of you. It's like, Kendra, like,
You're somewhere in the middle.
well, like, because I'm like, Kendra, like, I want somebody who I can just talk to, and, like, I won't sleep with them unless I think I might marry them, or, you know, like, it's going to reach a higher level of commitment. Like, I will keep them in the friend zone for a long time on purpose because I'm, like, interviewing them in more depth. So to speak.
They get an audition and a callback.
Yes, right. And I can, like, think that, you know, I can make that decision more clearly if sex isn't part of the equation.
Oh, okay.
And
Right. Yeah.
yeah, but then also then I have, like, the other guys that, like, that is their only purpose.
Okay, that's fair.
And that is where I'm like, Summer. So I kind of am a mix of you both, but what I guess I just revealed to any guy who slept with me recently, or, you know, realizes that that is their purpose, is that there is no hope for more.
And on that note,
I friend zoned them by fucking them.
you heard it here first, folks. There's got to be a hashtag to go with that one.
Oh, okay. Well.
Well, to all the men Felina has been with lately, now you know.
Oh, man, this is my favorite episode. Kendra, you are awesome.
You are amazing.
You are so awesome. You prompted such a wonderful conversation. This has been so fun.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. I've been watching you. That sounds creepy. I've been watching you, Summer, since my friend Rain introduced me to you, and I'm like, oh, Summer is so awesome. So I just felt honored to be here. You guys are amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You can contact the podcast at brokebrokenpodcast@gmail.com. The Broken Broken Podcast can be found on Twitter at Broke Broken Show, on Instagram and Facebook at Broke Broken Podcast.